You're tuned in to Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk, live every weekday on the Nation Network YouTube.
The Oilers get a big win. Oh, the start to the show is under review, and it's getting called back.
You're tuned in to Oilers Nation every day with Tyler Yaremchuk, live every weekday on the Nation Network YouTube.
Reviews, overtime, lots of goals, wild win for the Edmonton Oilers on Monday night. Let's get into it with the lead.
I was really wondering if we were going to do that 3 more times. After
Yeah,
what happened
every
yesterday.
single time. I didn't tell you we were. I didn't tell you we were doing that. The chat likes it. Welcome into Oilers Nation every day, coming to you live from the Sports Closet studio. Check them out online, sportscloset.ca. If you are from Sports Closet and you're watching this right now, I'm coming this week to get a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins jersey, I think.
What kind?
Royal blue.
Nice. I got to get myself a royal blue one before these Adidas ones go out of fashion.
We're going to talk about that a little bit later. As always, we are streaming to you live on the Nation Network YouTube, where our guy Austin had the first comment of the show. What a game last night. That OT was nuts. It was nuts. That was a crazy overtime. That was a back and forth hockey game. It was an absolute roller coaster when you consider all the goals that got called back. Liam, we'll get into our 3 big things in just a second, but that was not a pretty victory for the Oilers. That was not a game that you're going to throw up at the end of the year and say, that's the moment I knew the Oilers were cup contenders. But regardless, 2 points is 2 points, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, they got the points in the end, and that is what matters the most. And they found a way to come from behind a few times there and figure it out. But yeah, you would like to see them kind of put away a San Jose Sharks team a little bit sooner. But
yeah,
also give some credit to James Reimer, I suppose. He did make 48 saves or 47 saves. Like, he played very well.
It feels like this has happened to the Oilers a bunch this year, like the Reimer performance last night, Korpisalo against them, where like they still find a way to put home 4, 5, or 6 on you. And the goalie is a save percentage above 900 because of just how busy he had to be. So yeah, James Reimer was spectacular in net for the San Jose Sharks. Erik Karlsson, how about that for a revenge game from EK65?
He's no longer welcome in this city, though, Tyler. I don't know if you heard, but he did reject the Germans when they requested a photo with him.
Twice, I heard.
Yeah. So along with Joel Edmondson, Erik Karlsson, you are no longer welcome in this city.
We are off the Erik Karlsson train. This summer, that trade is not happening. And you know why it's not happening? Partially because of that, but also because the Oilers have the superior EK. Ekholm. He is number 1 on our 3 big things that are brought to you by AMA Travel. Check them out, amatravel.com. They can help you with whatever you want. I talked about this yesterday on I talked about this yesterday on Real Life. And whether you're staying in Alberta, if you need a hotel room in Drumheller or Red Deer, maybe you're doing a little golf trip, they got you. If you're going abroad, they got you as well. AMA Travel does everything.
I would say, though, if you're thinking of going to Drumheller this summer, don't get a hotel.
Just stay somewhere else?
No, just go for the day and leave. I made the mistake last summer. Find somewhere else.
AMAtravel.ca, my apologies, is where you can find them. Number 1, Mattias Ekholm, man. I'm starting with the big positive. It's the big man on the blue line, him and Evan Bouchard. Listen, it's high event hockey when those two are on the ice. And that is maybe a little bit concerning from a duo that at least early on looked like they were going to calm down the Oilers' D-core. As of late, that hasn't been the case. It's a lot of shots at both ends of the ice. Yesterday, they were on the ice for 26 total shots at 5-on-5 alone, but 14 of them were for the Oilers. They were also on the ice for a handful of goals for, including 2 from Mattias Ekholm himself. That one, the patience, the hands to work it in. Got a little lucky because that was a bit of a soft goal to give up for James Reimer, but Ekholm just sneaks it under his glove hand. I mean, that again just goes to show what we didn't necessarily know about this guy when he got here. We were thinking rugged, shutdown, all of that. But man, he can shoot the puck, as you're about to see here. He can move up the ice. He passes really, really well. And then how can you not love that? Yelling with Connor McDavid, really buying in to the culture of the Oilers. Mattias Ekholm has had a handful of really good games for this hockey team since they acquired him from the Nashville Predators. But last night just felt like a statement that was on a whole different level.
He needs 2 more goals to match his career high for goals on a season, which
Wow.
is only 10.
That's
So
something.
pretty wild. I mean, it kind of makes sense that we didn't know this offensive package was fully there with him, with just the talent Nashville has had on the blue line whilst he's been the Predator, right? So he's been given the opportunity. He's clearly playing with tons of confidence right now and at both ends of the ice. And that slap shot, holy smokes.
Well, just like his goal against Toronto, like he ripped that thing.
Absolutely smashed it. And this is not a shot at Evan Bouchard, but I think Evan Bouchard needs to adapt that into his game a little more too. When the opportunity's there, hit it as hard as you can. Because if it, you know what, maybe a defenseman gets in the way, maybe you won't get in the way next time because of how hard you actually hit it. Like capitalizing on your opportunities, and his first goal was a nasty one. And I doubt he'll be getting that much space going down the road now with basically scoring 2 very important goals from the team in similar fashions, but very opposite too.
Yeah, 9 points in 10 games since joining the Edmonton Oilers, plus 15 in that span, although I know we don't love plus minus. He was just exceptional last night. And man, it got me thinking, how lucky are the Edmonton Oilers that David Poile decided to sell off? Because like I'm sure there's a little part of that Nashville organization that's looking at what they're doing right now and going, maybe we should have held on to one of these pieces. Maybe we would have squeaked in, because they're right there. If they win their games in hand, they're going to get in the Western Conference. If they would have gotten in, they're going to miss guys like Jeannot and Ekholm. And listen, they got good returns. Mikhail Granlund, Nino Niederreiter. They had a major sell-off. And it is not something they thought at the beginning of the year they would be doing, right? They re-signed Philip Forsberg, give him that big deal a couple years ago. They give Ekholm this big extension. Yeah. And then to just kind of take a 60-game sample size, a little less than that, and decide, nope, we got to do a hard reset as an organization. I don't know if that was the best move for the Predators. We'll see in the long run if it ends up working out for them. But in the moment, the Oilers are lucky that things turned out the way they did with the Predators, because you were not getting a guy this good in terms of Mattias Ekholm
anywhere else.
You weren't getting him anywhere else. He was a unicorn on the market. And I praise Ken Holland, man. I give him a ton of credit.
I actually, if I'm Nashville, I don't think I'm that bummed that I sold off, to be honest. Like, I understand everything.
Return,
like the return was great and everything, but they got swept in the playoffs last year. They didn't really look like they even belonged. And it seems like if they get in again, it's likely that could happen. But instead, now you got all these picks. You can kind of rebuild a little bit. You got the cap space to maybe just recoup and be like, hey, we were 2 points out of a playoff spot last season. You might be able to get a couple of other pieces there from free agency. Great goaltending still. And Tyson Barrie got given an A already too. So that's really good to see on his side of things.
Yeah, it's nice to see him fitting in there. People saying maybe Barry's the reason they turned it around. I mean, not really. I think you can almost always, when it comes to the Predators, circle things back to goaltending with them. They'll go as far as UC Saros can take them. So maybe that is another point that, selling off was the right move regardless. Don't really care about the Predators, I guess.
There's a dog outside.
I know. There's a dog in the office, and it's really distracting. A lot of people asking, best defenseman since Chris Pronger.
I honestly,
I'm 100% in on that. I said that when the moment they acquired him.
I never saw Chris Pronger play, so I can never give an answer. But
you've seen a lot of shit hockey from an Oilers blue line since then.
From what I've seen from 2010 onwards, it's probably fair to say that Ekholm has been the best defenseman. Is it fair to say Darnell Nurse has probably been one of the best defensemen too? If we're going to just put that on Ekholm, Nurse was the best before Ekholm came. So, and Nurse had became the new franchise leader in most overtime goals by a defenseman yesterday.
New franchise leader in overtime goals by a defenseman?
Yeah, 4.
Nice.
There you go.
And that was his first one this year, though, right? I think. Or is it his second?
I think.
Let's find out. Anyways, my second big thing is a hat trick last night from our boy Jeremy Coupal. 3 reviewed goals, and they all go the way of the Edmonton Oilers in terms of the ones they had to challenge themselves. I know they also had one called back, which I didn't love, but the goalie interference call in San Jose kind of just nullified that. Later, Jeremy Coupal, the eye in the sky, coming through for the Oilers. He deserves to probably be, if Ekholm's the first star, he's the second star, which is why he's number 2 on our list of 3 big things. That is, I mean, what you pay him to do, I guess, but it's still a fun storyline, and this game could have gotten a lot worse.
Yeah, and I think Jay Woodcroft shouted out another video coach, Noah Segall, I believe is his name, but Jeremy Coupal's obviously the one that everyone's loving on today and most of the season, to be honest. And there he is, the man himself.
Our king.
To be honest, I just don't know how the NHL officials are missing some of these calls, and it has to go to video
Okay,
review.
the Gregor one.
The Greg one, sure, that was tight.
The Barabanov one where he cut in and was like in the zone and picked up the puck, that one was bad.
And it's not like the linesman was on the other side of the ice. You can see him in the shot, and he still messed it up. And then the two goalie interference ones, I know they were kind of softer ones, but they were both in the blue paint, so the right call was made. And people always go on about video review. Does the league need it and all this stuff? I say 100%. There was 4 goals disallowed in that game last night. And all the goals that were disallowed were the correct call after a review. The NHL officials are not good enough to make decisions on the ice. Granted, some of the times they're tight, but this is why we need more men like Jeremy Coupal in the league.
Yeah, I'm like a little torn on it just because, like, again, the ones that went the Oilers' way, great, it helped them win. But they were so inconsequential to the puck going in the net that I'm just still of the stance that, like, we're taking offense away. And if what happened last night was flipped and the Oilers scored 3 goals that all got called back in that fashion, like the Couture one was definitely goalie interference. The Hyman one was as well.
Couldn't do his job.
Couldn't do his job, as the ref said. That was unbelievable. But like those offsides where it's like razor thin, like, I don't know. You have to do it because the Pandora's box has been opened. You can't go back. It's just a little bit sad that we lose offense in this game and lose out on what is ultimately entertainment, and reviews are the exact opposite of entertainment. Just sucks we lose out on that over just that little bit.
Yeah, I think that's fair for sure. The Barabanov one, I mean, I'm totally okay with that one. Like you said, it was clear as day when you actually saw the replay. But the Gregor one, yeah, it was very inconsequential to what happened. Our friend Jason Gregor wasn't very happy about it. Rightfully so. That would have been...
He was in the crowd rocking a Gregor jersey.
Was he really? That's so funny that he just kind of takes off his media hat for the game.
I love it.
I do too. It's awesome to see. So, yeah, too bad, but not too bad for us. Go Oilers.
My third big thing from last night, what a wild overtime it was. As Tyson said in the chat, the game was a roller coaster of emotions. It was a close call. We pulled out the win in OT. Yes, Darnell Nurse coming up clutch in overtime after a million chances down the stretch for the Edmonton Oilers. Nurse works in, boom, with authority, 5-hole on James Reimer. I love that celebration from Darnell Nurse because it's been a tough year for the guy. I know y'all like to pile on him. I've done it at times as well. But you see that smile on his face. A guy who at points this year has been fighting it. A guy who, as I've said on this show a bunch of times, has also gotten a lot of unwarranted criticism for his play. He's been, for the majority of the season, this team's best defenseman.
Yeah.
He's been the best defenseman on his pairing for the bulk of this season as well, because there have been moments where Cody Ceci really struggles, and I think sometimes that leaves an ugly mark on Darnell Nurse's game. He's carrying that pairing a lot of nights and doing a tough job, usually against the other team's best players, usually playing north of 22, 23, 24 minutes a night. And yeah, he makes some bad mistakes. He would probably be the first one to tell you he's been fighting it for long stretches this year, but he's been there every game. He's been giving them solid minutes, and this blue line would be even more of a problem if it wasn't for Darnell Nurse. I loved seeing him get rewarded with a big goal like that, and hopefully it's a momentum turner for him.
I'm with you 100%, Tyler. I agree. Like, Darnell Nurse, he's not a perfect defenseman by any means. Is he overpaid? Sure. By what? $1 or $1.5 million, you know? Like, it's not like this guy's out here a $4 million defenseman. He's the Oilers' best defenseman for most of the nights until Ekholm came in, and they kind of go vice versa. But it's so big that the Oilers now have Nurse and Ekholm, who they can play for probably 40, 50 minutes a night if they really wanted to, right? So
Gregor made that point today on DFO Live, not to cut you off, but having Ekholm, and, you know, you can rely on him so heavily with Nurse now. Yeah, if there's a big playoff game, because the Oilers' third pairing is a bit of a problem. Brett Kulak is slipping. The right side is inexperienced, whether you're playing Broberg or Desharnais there. And I actually thought Broberg had a couple of really tough plays yesterday. Or I should say that Broberg-Kulak pairing did. I mean, there is a chance, let's say there are 55 on 5 minutes on average in a hockey game. Man, you can play Nurse Ekholm for 40 to 43 of those.
100%. Yeah.
And then the power play penalty kill can dish out. However, Kulak can play a little bit more on the PK. So can Desharnais. They can make up some minutes there. But you can go a lot of the hockey game with just rolling Nurse, Ekholm, one of them always on the ice. And I think that's the makings of a pretty decent blue line.
Yeah, I think it's been a good blue line. Like you said, Kulak hasn't been fantastic recently. He is playing with younger defensemen, so maybe that hinders him a little bit. And he's trying to find a new defensive partner. He was having a lot of success with Barry, so hopefully by the time the playoffs come around, that can kind of adjust a little bit. But yeah, on Nurse's thing, this is a guy that wants to be here, which I think is something the Oilers have struggled with for a long time. And he took those bridge deals, and I know eventually it came to screw him a little bit, but like he was taking less money to try and help the team a little bit too. And now it came to the point where he got paid, and here he is. And you'll see him in that spot every single night, the number one defenseman on this team. You also may remember, a lot of people seem to have short memories, Nurse played on basically one leg last playoffs and was great. So let's lay off him a little bit. I think he was great again last night. And yeah, go Oilers.
Yeah, Tyler Mulick says Kulak is a good local kid, though. 100%. Yes. Don't. He's having a rough stretch of games here, but that contract, everything considered with Brett Kulak, is awesome. And at the end of the day, to have Nurse, Ekholm, Kulak on your left side is really good. And to have those guys, it's kind of like how we talk about how we don't like Campbell at $5 million, but Campbell and Skinner at 7.6. You're kind of like, that's not that bad. You don't like Nurse at 9.25, and JHB says he's a $7 million defenseman at best. Yeah, okay, but like, what are you going to do about it? You can't restructure. Like, it's just, eventually people need to just stop complaining about that and put it to the side. And having Nurse, Ekholm, Kulak under contract for the next 3 seasons here at a total of, Yaremchuk math, $17.9 million. That's a pretty important area of your lineup to have some. It's a known commodity now. You know what you're going to have there for the next number of years. Yeah. You can build with those three pillars in mind. $17 million is 25% of your cap, or just under 20% of your cap. I don't mind spending that to have a really good looking left side like that. So I don't know. I think people have been bitching a little bit too much about Darnell Nurse, and the big thing from last night's game, obviously it was the OT winner, but just a really good moment for Darnell. And I was happy to see him score it.
Yeah, me too. And I would just kind of like to know, I guess, what do people want more from him to get him to his contract value? Is it the points? Like, he's never going to be on the power play, but if you put him there, I'm sure he'd actually do perfectly fine.
That's what happened the year he got paid, is he played a lot more on the power play in that Canadian division season, and he put up the points, and he scored a ton that year. He, made part of this contract is because he just dominated the Senators for like 7 games that season. So anyways, I wanted to do that little rant about Darnell Nurse. And I know a bunch of you in the chat are agreeing with me. And good. I mean, let's show that support a little bit more publicly and try to change the narrative around Darnell Nurse a little bit.
So one thing, just to change the narrative, like you just said, Dan, one thing I thought was good, and I'm sure we'll get into it eventually, the soup chants were still going late in the third period, despite what I'm sure a lot of people were thinking in the game. And I think that was just really good to see, like, supporting through thick and thin. Like, he's on our team. So I thought that was just really cool.
Also, how about this for a stat I just pulled up?
Oh.
Darnell Nurse is top 10 in even strength points amongst defensemen. Darnell Nurse has 34 even strength points. He's tied with Quinn Hughes, one back of Roman Josi, one back of Devin Taves, one back of Adam Fox, one back of Rasmus Dahlin. Again, he's got more even strength points than Cale Makar this season. I know he's played more games. He's played more games than a lot of those guys, but health and being in the lineup matters when you're a defenseman who plays those number of minutes. He's got more even strength points than Miro Heiskanen, than Alex Pietrangelo, than Brent Burns, Mikhail Sergachev, Victor Hedman, Charlie McAvoy. The list goes on.
It is funny how we discount power play points so much for McDavid and Draisaitl.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Darnell Nurse, he doesn't get any point. He doesn't even play on a power play.
Yeah.
How can we pay this guy so much? He doesn't even get points.
People talking out of two sides of their mouth.
There you go. Pick your battle.
Jack Campbell, you said it. The soup chants were going last night, and man, Jack Campbell somehow picked up his 18th win of the season. 18-9-4. I mean, they win when he's in net.
With Jackie, we winnie. That's it, right?
There's got to be something there. when with Jack, the wins come back. I don't know.
Sure.
Something along those lines. I just think it's hilarious that this dude has found a way to rack up 18 wins on the season. Like, if you want to cherry pick some stats, like I kind of did with Nurse there, Jack Campbell has just as many wins as Jeremy Swayman, who many consider the best backup in the NHL this year. So, I mean, come on, there you go. Some positivity.
What did you think of Campbell overall last night?
Oh, I thought he was brutal. Like, he was just terrible. He got beat 3 times. They got called back. He kind of gave up 7 goals last night. Although the goalie interference one, I'll give him a break. He basically gave up 6 goals last night and got bailed out.
I think they hit the post a couple of times too. Yeah. And Cody Ceci cleared the one off the line. He's such an interesting case. I went back and looked at the goals and I wrote it down in my notes. Let me pull it up here. And like, I'm not trying to defend him because I am absolutely terrified every time he's between the pipes, and I think that's justified. So the first one, brutal rebound, just absolute awful trampoline off his pads, like straight to was it Barbanov or whatever.
Yeah,
Evander King could have probably helped a little bit, but the main consequence of it all was the huge rebound that came out. The second one, breakaway. But it was the one where he initially stopped it and then he tapped it in again.
Make a clean save.
We've seen that a few times this season, so I'll give him the benefit to make the first save, but also just kind of a terrible defensive error too, to just allow the seas basically just parted for Lorenz there. Carlson won. I think Carlson's going to do that to almost every goal in the league. That was a sick goal.
Yeah, I don't blame him on that.
And the fourth one was screen. You can kind of go either way, I suppose. But the point is, like, he did get bailed out a few times, but the goals that went in, 50% of them, I'm not sure many goalies in the NHL would have really gotten to, but he finished with an 875. I don't think Stu's out over a 900 in his last 2 games at least. He didn't get it last game, I don't think. So what's he got there?
Yeah, Skinner, 892, 962, 906, 838, 929. So he had the game where he got lit up against Toronto wasn't great. Against Seattle, I actually thought he was good for the bulk of that game, and then he gave up the goal late and kind of garbage time there. So that one I give him a pass on, and Skinner's been good all season. The guy's got a 911 save percentage.
So with Campbell, my last point will be, made some big saves in the third. Made a couple of big saves in overtime. He made the big stops when they really done for most of the game. But then you got to remember to play defense when they get the odd man rushes or they get the odd zone time, whenever it may be.
Yeah.
And the Oilers have found it very difficult to do that against a lot of these bad teams throughout the year.
We're back. I was literally just thinking, because we moved to a new setup, right, where Aaron is in the same room as us now, and we're all in one spot, which was supposed to help the internet, and it did help the internet for like 4 or 5 shows. Then it crapped out there, but I think it only crapped out for like a minute. So we're all good. Refresh your page. We're back at it. We were just ranting about how we didn't like the way the Oilers played that one goal, or the 4th goal. That's one where, again, I won't fully blame Jack Campbell on that one, but it kind of gets washed out when you consider he got lucky with goals getting called back. So it wasn't a good night for Jack Campbell. At the end of the day, you need the guy to make stops. Maybe I shouldn't even say that, because I don't think the Oilers are going to need him to make very many more stops this year. And I've heard a lot of like, well, you're going to need both guys at some point in the playoffs. And that's just not true. Teams, like in the regular season, you need 2 goalies. And granted, the Oilers have found a way to win despite having 2 reliable goalies this season. But come playoff time, you're going to ride Stuart Skinner. Every team is going to live or die off their number one for the most part, with the exception, maybe the Toronto Maple Leafs would bounce between a Samsonov and a Murray. But for the most part, you're going to find your guy, you're going to stick with him. And Stuart Skinner's the guy. Someone said they would start Campbell against Arizona again and then go to Skinner. No.
I wouldn't do that for the reason of, one, Arizona are on a 4-game win
6-2-2 in their last 10 as well, yeah.
And also, it takes so much energy to get back into that game. And then you have a massive game against Vegas on Saturday. You just get the win and just work. Don't be like, you can't play. We talk about playing down to your opponent. Well, playing down to your opponent is probably starting Jack Campbell. It's not disrespectful thing, because I think he's obviously an NHL goalie and they're a good team, but it's like, just go out there to win. Skinner is going to give you the best opportunity. Just get it done in 60 and don't waste your time.
Yeah. And again, like we said, you're not trying to get Jack Campbell going at any points now. You are playing him when Skinner needs rest. So you played Stu on Saturday. He played a lot in that week, and I think it kind of showed because his play dipped against Seattle. We talked 890-some save percentage. So you gave him 3 days off now. He'll play against Arizona, nice and rested. He'll get 2 days off, then play against Vegas. Next Monday, Campbell start right off the bat. First of back-to-backs. It's against Arizona. You have Vegas the next night, but that'll again be a 2-day off break for Stuart Skinner. And then he'll play Tuesday against Vegas, and then he'll, without a doubt, play Thursday against the LA Kings. And then depending how things look there, you could maybe justify a Campbell start at home against the Anaheim Ducks, but I would again be inclined to go right back to Stu there. And then 2 days off, play Stu against LA, play Campbell against Anaheim. That'll give Skinner a 3-day break ahead of San Jose, another 2-day break against Colorado, start Campbell last day of the regular season, and boom, Skinner will be rested, ready to go for the playoffs. That's how I would dish it out down the stretch here. I think it's honestly pretty straightforward, and the Oilers just shouldn't overthink it. Play Stu if it's not a back-to-back. Play Campbell when it's a back-to-back and maybe in the last game of the season.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, Jack Campbell was between the pipes for a win, and it was the 4th win in a row for the Oilers, which means our friends from Germany got to see 4 victories in their week here. And here's the reaction in overtime. Our boy Tim, who was on the show, going absolutely bananas up there. Jay's in that shot as well. Jay was probably celebrating.
Gavin's in it too.
Oh, Gavin's in it too. Jay was probably celebrating that hard when Ekholm scored, because that means Jay's in the positive money for our Betway Game Day Big Bets. But this is great to see them going nuts like that, to know they're, and they did head back to the airport today with big, big smiles on their face. Again, big shout out to AMA Travel for helping us put this on. Big shout out to our guy Nation Dan, who does a great job hosting them. And Aaron, you can flash up that Photoshop, because I love that as well. We loved having them here, man. And they loved, again, chatting with them. They love the city. They love the way everyone, and that's like you guys watching the show and Nation citizens, Oilers fans, the way you guys embrace them as well. It was just an awesome time hanging out with them over the last week. Loved having them hop on the show and on Real Life. And they got to see 4 wins. Like, the danger in planning trips around your favorite sports teams is that it can be a real effing bummer if things don't work out. But sometimes everything just lines up. They saw Stützle score twice. They saw Draisaitl hit the 50 or score twice, hit the 100-point mark. Unbelievable. Just, you couldn't have scripted a better week.
It really worked out perfectly for them. And my favorite thing about the Germans is the fact that they're not just like a bunch of guys that live in like the same town and hang out and just love the Oilers. Like, these guys are from all over Germany. Tim's actually from Switzerland, I believe.
He lives in Switzerland now, and they know each other and have built their own like micro community off their love for the Oilers, which is sweet. It's
amazing. On that video, I saw it, and it just brought a smile to my face that they were able to come and just enjoy it so much. And like, it's kind of what sports is, right? Like, it's supposed to bring everybody together, and these guys and ladies, I believe there was 22 of them that came to watch their favorite sports team play, and boy, oh boy, did they get an experience. And it's just great to see. It gives me kind of goosebumps just watching it, and they're all so amazing, and they were so happy with the reception they got, and the way the Oilers treated them, giving them access to players, and the way they were able to meet people, and just the way the city kind of embrace them. It just goes to show, like, Edmonton is a pretty special place for hockey fans.
100%. Tyler Mulick, weather was nice too. It was.
Yes, it was.
The melt of 2023 is happening. I cannot wait for all the snow to be freaking gone. Let's get back into the chat here. We said we want some listener questions, so you can drop those in. Someone made a comment of people forget how bad Mike Smith was in the playoffs last year. Can we pump the brakes on this a little bit? Because Mike Smith had a .913 save percentage in the postseason last year, and there were some rough games in general, but Mike Smith was nails in a lot of big moments. Shutout in game 2 against the LA Kings. Shutout in game 7 against the LA Kings. The Oilers went 7 games in a series, and Mike Smith had 2 shutouts in that series. He was also above a 900 in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those 7 games. Against the Calgary Flames, Again, game 3, 970 save percentage, a big moment in the series. He was above 900 in 3 of the first 4 games of that series, 3 of 5 overall. Yeah, he got yanked in game 1, just like he did against LA. But after that, he was solid. Against the Colorado Avalanche, he was above a 900 in 2 of the 4. But guess what? He faced 40-plus shots in 3 of those 4 hockey games as well. I will not stand for any Mike Smith playoff slander. I would argue, I wish I could take back some of the things I said about Mike Smith over the offseason, because Smith at 2.2 and Skinner at 2.6 actually would have been a pretty elite combo between the pipes. Nick says Mike Smith was not reliable enough. I mean, on the season as a whole, yeah, he would get hurt. You probably didn't want that guy back, and ultimately he didn't come back because he was hurt and he couldn't stay healthy. But Mike Smith at his peak was a very, very good Mike Smith at his peak was an elite level goalie in the NHL last season. That last 6-8 weeks of the regular season, he was statistically the best goalie in the NHL. Again, he had rough moments here. His personality at times was a little annoying, the way he would glare at young defensemen and kind of throw fits. When he gave up the goal to Anderson, he was yelling at the defenseman in front of him. Like, at times he was annoying. At times he wasn't good. But when he was on, Mike Smith was so damn good. And the Oilers don't have that run last year if it's not for Mike Smith. So come on.
And he also gave us an epic moment when he came out from the dressing room and walked down the tunnel, and Zach made that cool montage.
Yeah, that was unreal.
That was amazing. But yeah, like Mike Smith, even when they got swept by Winnipeg the year before, I think it was, he like a 912 save percentage in 4 games. Yeah. Like, this guy did show up, and I agree. There was moments when he was like, oh boy, what is Smith going to get up to tonight, when he allows a Rasmus Anderson goal from the other side of the ice. But then, like you said, like, absolute nails in game 7. He was amazing. Went for the goalie goal in a game 7 as well. Like, I loved Mike Smith, and I'm with you. Like, it was times it was like, okay, relax a little bit here, buddy. But he was a great goalie for the Oilers, and if they had him right now over Jack Campbell, I think everyone would be pretty happy.
Absolute nails, like me throwing my guards in my curling playoff game yesterday.
You did inspire me to say nails today. Yeah. So
big comeback win for my curling team. So shout out to them. Listener questions. A lot of chatter about Evan Bouchard. JHB, how are they going to make room for Bouchard's next contract? David Sapina said, do they bridge or sign Bouchard to a long-term contract this summer? If they bridge him, are they just setting up Nurse contract 2.0? So here's the cap situation for next year, according to Cap Friendly. They have if the cap goes up $1 million, which is the minimum it will go up, $8.5 million. The Oilers, with that 8.5, they have UFAs, Derek Ryan, Matthias Janmark, Devin Shore, Nick Bukestad, 4 guys. They have 3 RFAs, Evan Bouchard, Ryan McLeod, and Klim Kostin. Kostin's $1 million. That brings you down to 7.5. You're probably bringing back 2 of Ryan, Janmark, Shore, and Bukestad. That is, we'll call it another 2 mil. So now you got 5.5 left. You could, at that point, afford to bridge Bouchard and McLeod. 5.5 million is more than enough. You'll have $1 million left over, which, again, Smith is off the books. Clefbaum's off the books. Ryan Murray's also off the books. You could actually go into next season with no LTIR space, which would be huge because it allows you to accumulate space as the year goes on and gives you way more wiggle room than just $1 million at the deadline. I don't hate the strategy from the Oilers of bridge Bouchard, bridge McLeod, run back the same lineup next year, and take a flyer on a few guys in free agency, have $500K to $1 million left over to start the season, let that cap space grow, make a big splash at the deadline. That is not a terrible strategy.
No, and it's kind of something they tried to do this season, really, is it not? In the sense of like just running it back with a similar core at least, right? So I think the only thing that might be intriguing to me is if they move on from a Yamamoto or a Foegele just to free up that space, because you do have Holloway or Borgoa, even Rafael Lavoie right now too, and maybe they even get a college free agent that could help them out a little bit too. So I think I'm with you where they'll just go out and try and find some value contracts here and there. Like maybe there's some veterans out there or guys who are trying to, like a Matthias Janmark, for example, guys who just need a 1-year deal. Like maybe that's kind of what they go for. But to bridge Bouchard, I think the ball is actually in the Oilers' court on this side of things more than Bouchard's side of it, because Bouchard hasn't had a great season. He's been very good for the last 10 games, basically till Ekholm got here. And I think that's what the Oilers will probably stand on and be like, well, what did you do before this guy got here? You know, so It's going to be an interesting one. I think I'll try and wrap him up for probably 3 years.
I could see that. I believe that's how he's 3 or 4 years away from unrestricted free agency.
Yeah.
Do you want to walk him right to his UFA years? Probably not, even though he might like that. Like, I don't know, with where the Oilers are right now, again, I don't love the idea of walking him to unrestricted free agency, especially because 4 years from now, the cap's going to shoot way up. But in those next 4 seasons, you do need new contracts for McDavid and Draisaitl. You do probably want all the wiggle room you can have to make sure you can get those two done. Not that there's a scenario where you don't get them done because you move heaven and hell to make that happen. But what if Bouchard says, yeah, you know what? I like the way things are going around here. I'll set myself up for a huge payday at 27. I'll do 4x2. Man, you'll have a value deal for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
And it's during a time when you're trying to win a Stanley Cup. You'll have to pay dearly if that thing hits, and if he becomes what I think he'll become, which is an elite offensive defenseman capable of consistently playing heavy top 4 minutes, you're going to pay. And if the cap's at $100 million at that point, which it could be, you're going to pay dearly. But is that worth? You got to remember, Ken Holland doesn't have a lot of years left on that deal, on his deal, like, to be the GM of this team. He might sit there and say, no, I want to make next year's team as good as possible. And that will be having Bouchard at $2 million instead of $5 million.
Yeah, they've got to find a way to just kind of get as much money available to them as we can, which is kind of what we spoke about during the trade deadline when they were linked to guys like Joel Edmondson. Like, that's not going to benefit your team at all. So I think Holland has been relatively good with the cap the last couple of years. I know there's the Cassian stuff in there that people obviously don't like, but
he got out of it. I mean, Kyle Dubas has had to get out of things too. He's a really good GM in my book. So
Nugent-Hopkins is signed to a good deal. Kane is signed to a good one. Hyman too. And then obviously they just got Ekholm for $6 million. They managed to retain some money on that as well for 3 years. And I know we all laughed at the 4%, but that is $250 million.
Yep.
So,
you know, my one offseason prediction, and I don't have insider info on this, but I just believe it's going to happen in my bones. They're going to sign Connor Brown.
Yeah, I mean, it all makes sense.
It'll be the McDavid effect where, like, he's missed basically the entire season with an ACL injury. He'll be back for the start of next year, though, apparently. He's a guy who's scored in the past, has played with Connor McDavid in junior. The Oilers have been linked to him a bunch. That is a guy, Connor McDavid effect. You go to Connor Brown, you say, hey, look, you're not getting big money anywhere coming off that injury. 1 year, 1.5, play on 97's wing, score 30 like Patty Maroon did. You'll get a big ticket next offseason. You'll thank us.
The last time McDavid and Brown played together was he's a good area boy. Brown had 45 goals and 128 points with Connor McDavid. More than McDavid that season.
He was putting up McDavid numbers.
Yeah, he did play 12 more games, but McDavid had 99 points in 56 games that season.
That's pretty weak for McDavid.
Yeah.
Considering he's putting up better numbers in the NHL this year. So there you go. The other thing that I didn't touch on with Bouchard, that it was a point I wanted to make, that was their cap situation. Again, they should have about $5 million to re-sign both McLeod and Bouchard if the cap only goes up $1 million. Frank Saravalli has said on this show he doesn't believe that's going to be the case. It sounds like Bettman and the PA are going to find a way to negotiate around that remaining debt. Everyone wants to see the cap go up. Players want more money in the pool. Owners want things to get back to normal. GMs want more money to spend. I think there's a chance we see the cap actually go up $3 to $4 million, which means you could take care of your UFAs, which are all bottom 6 players. You could take care of McLeod, and you could actually probably have like $5 million just for Bouchard and another ad. 5.5 even if you played things right. I don't think you're going to see Yamamoto or Foegele be cap casualties because I think they're both playing well right now. And I think you can keep those guys in your top 9 for next season, and they're good insurance pieces for players like Borgo and Holloway. I think you can move Yamamoto or Foegele in season. No sense moving them for picks in the summer just to get the cap space. I think you sign Connor Brown. You go long-term with Bouchard if the cap indicates it. You give McLeod a decent amount of term as well. I'd go like 4x2 with him. And I'm just here to say you can afford all that because if the cap goes up $3 to $4 million, you're going to have $10.5 to $11.5 million to spend this summer and a lot of cost certainty sprinkled throughout this roster.
What do you think about Nick Bukestad? I think he'll be gone.
I think so too.
Do you think? I think he'll actually get a pretty good ticket. I think someone will overpay that guy.
It depends. Like he could get the old Ville Leno effect. Remember when he was just absolutely unreal? That was for the Flyers that year when they went to the Cup final, and he got paid. And that deal was terrible. Like, look up. I know
It was brutal.
You had Hockey DB open, but look up Billy Lano's stats once he went to Buffalo, because they gave him like $4-something million, and it just was terrible.
So what year was the Cup? 2010, right?
You can see in his playoff games.
Oh yeah. So yeah, he had 25 points in 71 games, and he had 6 points in 8 games, and he had 15 points with no goals in 58, and that was his last season in the NHL.
It was the Cup final and then one more year in Philly.
Yeah.
Then he was a UFA. He had 53 points that last season, and then he only scored 56 points or 46 points in the next 3 years with Buffalo.
He didn't even have a good season with Philly. He had a good playoffs. He had more points in the playoffs than the regular season.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Maybe he would. Tyler Mulick, he'll sign back in Mini. Mini was healthy scratching him in the playoffs last year. I don't think Dean Evison is a big Nick Bukestad fan. I could see him coming back, right? Big bottom 6 centerman.
Yeah.
I don't know if you bring back both him and Derek Ryan, though. Can you have both long and normal Derek Ryan?
I don't know if I would. I don't know. This is going to be awful to say, but I don't know if I would bring back Derek Ryan.
He's having a great year.
I know, and that's why I don't like saying it. But he's also 36. Like, how much more runway are you getting with this guy?
But if he wants, and Nugent Bowman reported this, 1 year, $1 million. If things go south, you bury him. If he knows, hey, listen, I want to make another $1 million in my career. I want to play a bit more, but I'm cool being your 13th forward. I think he's a great fit for that. Can play center, can play the wing, can kill penalties.
I would try and get him down to the minimum and just get that bonus on it, just to kind of get to that whatever. But yeah, I mean, I like this lineup a lot right now, and someone's going to go, but if you can get a value deal like the Connor Brown, for example, like Sonny Milano was a PFO this year. PTO?
Yeah, PTO, yeah.
Not PFO. What's that one?
He was a PTO, didn't work out, went on an AHL deal to Washington, and then got converted to an NHL deal, and he's scoring. So, yeah, you're right. Sometimes these good players just kind of squeak through the cracks, or good bottom 6 guys struggle to find a home is what I was trying to say. Tyler Mulick, I love Bukestad, called it at the Montana's lunch. He did. We were out for lunch with him at Montana's, and he was high on Nick Bukestad. People want us to talk about the big news from the NHL today. Someone said, how hard is the NHL and Fanatics going to F this up? Here's the thing. I'm like a jersey guy. I have a lot of them.
Me too.
There is a very clear difference right now, and you see it in the price between the Adidas quality and Fanatics. It's a cheap logo. The patches are cheap. The jersey material feels cheaper. The shoulders don't have the same detail that they do. It's cheap. A lot of people do not like Fanatics. They kind of have a reputation of being the ones who are trying to monopolize the sports merchandise and apparel game. That's caused prices to go through the roof. And I don't love that the NHL is partnering with them for 10 years, because Fanatics might just sit there and say, guess what? Jerseys are even more expensive. Don't like it? Highly doubt you're not going to buy one for the next decade. Right? I'm worried about the way this is going to go. And Tyler Mulick says they're brutal quality. And yeah, I mean, they are. The way I'll give them some leeway is maybe getting this exclusive deal will force them to turn it around a little bit. I don't know if I'm confident in it, but maybe.
It's kind of the only thing I'm banking on too, but just looking at this jersey behind us here, you can just see the detail in the jersey is so much better. And I have the Orange Crush one from the 2017 season, which I think is a Fanatics jersey.
It's a Reebok.
Which one was the Fanatics in? Because I do have a Fanatics one.
The Fanatics one is just the step down from the Adidas one.
Okay, maybe that's just what I have then. But it's not very good. And to me, this also screams that the NHL probably didn't have any better offers.
Well, and that's the other side of this. And Mike McKenna and I talked about this on DFO Live today. MLB, NFL, NBA, it's Nike, it's Jordan, it's these big brands. And now the NHL has Fanatics. And it just feels like so minor leaguey. Mike McKenna called it Mickey Mouse-ish. It is it's just, you're clearly the 4th league in North America. There's something about when you're partnered with a Nike or Adidas and people go Nike.com, Adidas.com, your product's there. There's an incentive for Adidas to be advertising you. Their stuff is nice. It carries a little bit more cachet to it, if you want to call it that. It's disappointing to see this step back.
Yeah, it truly is. And even you could even argue the MLS is kind of taking a step in that way too. They just got a massive deal with Apple, and the NHL is going with Fanatics. It's a brand that I'm sure a lot of people probably hadn't even heard of until today from casual fans, right? So it's it's just not a good look for the league. I don't think they were taking such a positive direction with the Adidas deal. You get the ESPN and TNT stuff, and now it just feels like you're kind of just taking another step back. And it's a league that struggles with marketing, and now your jerseys are probably going to be more expensive. Like, it's just not going to help anyone.
Egan and Tyson both made a good point. I hope I'm saying your name right. Not Tyson, Egan. I'm sure the NHL will demand a certain level of quality. And there was a reporter from TVA out in Quebec who actually said he had the report that the on-ice jerseys will be made by the same supplier that Adidas used. So I guess the way it works, like reading some of these reports, and I think I'm doing it right, it's not like Adidas is manufacturing this jersey, right?
Right.
Adidas is hiring insert sports company in Quebec here to make the jersey, and they're just slapping the Adidas logo on it, right? The brand deal is basically to throw your logo on it. It's kind of an advertising deal is what I took from it. So maybe this is a situation where Fanatics is just, we want to get into the game, paid the NHL a ton of money. When Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is coming down the wing, we want to see Fanatics on the back. It's an ad deal, right? So I don't know. Maybe we're making too much about it, but
maybe. But it just seems odd, like you said. Like the other three big leagues all have Nike, or all of them have Nike.
Yeah,
and it's just like, oh, Nike didn't want us.
Yeah, I guess.
Right? Like, we're good. We got the other big ones. We don't need you, NHL.
No matter. And someone actually did say that Fanatics owns Mitchell and Ness, so it could lead to some more sweet Mitchell and Ness stuff. And I was looking at the Sports Closet Studios Sports Closet Instagram, and they posted here, Liam. I'll show you. I can't show the listeners, but I'll show you some new Mitchell and Ness hats. Those are pretty cool.
Oh, not bad at all. So we'll see. Maybe, like I said, maybe we're blowing out of proportion, but you see, and it is underwhelming.
Loomis says, actual question, is the Heritage Classic jersey going to be Fanatics or Adidas? It'll be Fanatics, but I think that almost goes to my point, because I think the designs are kind of set that the manufacturer will stay the same for a little bit, and they'll just slap the Fanatics logo on the jersey the players wear, is at least my suspicion.
If that's the case, then whatever, I guess. Just try and make the prices reasonable for people.
I know, that'd be the big thing. But our friends at Sports Closet, they always got good deals. Here we go. These are the new Mitchell and Ness hats that our friends at the Sports Closet have. I'm heading down there tomorrow. I'm going to get a little refresh for the studio. I like that one with the big E on it, actually. That's kind of sweet.
It's different.
And look at all the jerseys they have in the background.
What do we got there? Is that
one of them's got to be a royal blue Nugent-Hopkins. I was in, I think this is the Kingsway store. Maybe.
Yeah, looks like it.
I saw they had the Puljujärvi jerseys on for, I think, half price.
Probably a good thing.
Yeah, why not? You know what I used to do when I worked in the sports jersey game? I would just buy those player jerseys at half price. They're so cheap. Seam ripper, pick them off. Why not? But Sports Closet has you covered with all your authentic needs. Check them out online, sportscloset.ca. We are going very late today, Liam. So I almost called you, Tyler.
Didn't even realize.
Yeah, let's get to our Betway wrap.
Ching. Well,
I hit my bet yesterday.
I hit mine.
Jay hit his.
I was very excied for him, to be honest.
Yeah, me too.
It's coming around for him.
Yeah.
But tonight, I'm going to go with a big one too, Tyler. The Arizona Coyotes, plus 225 to beat Winnipeg. Arizona's on a 4-game win streak. The Jets have won 4 in the last 10, and they're also kind of on a skid. So I like that one. And a bit of a revenge game. The true team, the true owner of the Coyotes franchise in a way, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
you love finding a good revenge game narrative.
Yeah. Van de Kane had a big one last night.
Like that
-3.
Yeah, he was brutal. He got benched.
Adam Fox on 1.5. I think he's hit it in his last 2, -134. And also
decent.
1.5 shots. Like, it's not too difficult. I could probably get that.
Plays power play.
Yeah.
I like the Coyotes bet, actually. I love the Nashville Predators. They're plus 135 on the money line tonight against Buffalo. And listen, Nashville 500 as of late, 5-3-2 in their last 10. Not a great road bet, 17-18 straight up. But Buffalo is brutal at home, 13-22 straight up, just 2 wins in their last 10. Nashville should be playing very desperate. Buffalo's kind of had the life sucked out of their playoff push. I love the Preds on the money line, plus 135. That is my bet of the night. Shout out to our friends at Betway, 19 plus. Please play responsibly. Let's wrap this bad boy up. Shout out to everyone who tuned in on tomorrow. It's a Sherwood Ford Giant Game Day edition of the show. We're going to get set for Oilers and the Yotes. We're going to have all our game day fun right here from the Sports Closet studio. We'll chat with everybody then. Before we go, we need to give some love to our friends at Star Mechanical as well. I forgot to give them love with the listener questions. StarMechanical.ca is where you can find out more. Over 50 plumbers and gas fitters on staff. And if you need emergency service, you know they got you. The #1 plumbing and heating company in Edmonton, StarMechanical.ca. That's a wrap on today's edition of the show. Enjoy the Tuesday, everyone. I have a big beer league playoff game tonight.
Big game 7 for the crew.
It is a big night for both of us. Yours, this is admittedly, a little bit bigger. But yes, a big game 7 for the Sherwood Park Crusaders tonight as well. Lots of good sports in the Edmonton area. If you're looking for something to do tonight, the atmosphere at a crew playoff game is unbelievable. It's in Sherwood Park.
7 p.m. puck drop.
From the Randy Rosen Arena in Sherwood Park. So go check that out and go say hi to Liam while you're there. And tomorrow we'll recap that game, get set for Oilers and Yotes. Talk to you at Noon Mountain.